fraudster in this case. They made references to assets that were very valuable, and they said they had no idea. They had no idea what the numbers were when they said $18 million for Mar-a-Lago, and it's 50 to 100 times that amount by any estimation. It's a terrible thing that's happened here. We're taking days and days and weeks, and it goes on, and then you look at the outside world and what's happened. But of course, they're getting their wish, because I don't have to be here for the most part, but I sort of do have to be here because I want to be here, because it's a scam. And this is a case that should have never been brought, and it's a case that now should be dismissed. Everybody saw what happened today. Everybody saw what happened with their star witness, who admitted that I never told him what he originally said. I did. He admitted that he lied, and he has absolutely no credibility whatsoever. That's their only witness. That's their only witness. And I think you saw what I had to say today, and it was very conclusive. Everything we did was absolutely right. To think that we're being sued and spending all this time and money, and yet people being killed all over the world, that this country could stop. With inflation and all of the other problems that this country has, I think it's a disgrace. And when you look at the numbers, the poll numbers that came out today from the New York Times and CBS, I'm sure the Times was not too happy. But people are sick and tired of what's happening. This is I think it's a very sad day for America. But anyway, this is a case that should have never been brought, and it's a case that should be immediately dismissed. Thank you. Thank you very much.
President Trump, what do you think of the
Are you conducting the defense case?
All right, our investigative reporter, Aaron Katursky, has been following this from the very beginning. Aaron really didn't say anything new, except that we know court is set to resume on Wednesday with testimony now from the former president's daughter, Ivanka Trump.
Okay, stand by. Former President Trump ended his day of testimony after about 5 hours on the witness stand, and you heard him there say that the case against him here is a disgrace, and that's something that he repeated several times on the witness stand. At first, getting an admonishment from the judge not to make speeches. This is not a political rally, Judge Arthur Engoron said. This is a courtroom. And yet Trump persisted, and finally the judge seemed to just give up and deferred to the Attorney General's office and Senior Enforcement Counsel Kevin Wallace as to whether he wanted the answers stricken from the record or not. But the testimony of the former president ended with questions about whether the Trump Organization was going to make changes in how it handles its accounting. And the former president said something telling, Kira. He said, well, we're going to hear some recommendations and we'll see what happens. And to the Attorney General's office, that may have been a knowing admission that they had a problem in the accounting and that the financial statements were off. At least that's how the state sees the case.
All right, so there he is leaving the courthouse as we follow his every step. And let me go to Jeff Robbins on a question. Let's look ahead to a possible future, given what we're seeing in the polls. Donald Trump is not only a Republican nominee for president, but he wins. And these cases have continued, right? A couple of them federal cases, the New York State case, two cases in New York State, one case in Georgia. And he wants to get rid of them with, as the maximum presidential powers he can find or invent, and find lawyers who will help him, as he has demonstrated he can, think up the most extreme ways of exercising presidential power. Can he get out of trouble if he's elected president?
Well, the word that you used was invent, and that was a great one. In the case of the federal criminal charges, yes. He can appoint an attorney general who will drop the charges in whatever stage that they're at. In terms of the state criminal charges in Georgia and in New York, while he doesn't have the power to appoint somebody to drop those charges, he does have an argument, it's never been used before, but that hasn't stopped him, that it's impermissible for the state criminal authorities to proceed with criminal charges against a sitting president. There is no precedent for that, obviously, but you use the word invent, and justly so. That's the argument that he'll make. So the truth of the matter is we may be looking at a something between a very unprecedented situation and a constitutional crisis, whereby a former president, now a president again, having been convicted or having been charged with all these crimes in different jurisdictions, takes the actions that he deems necessary to eliminate those charges and bring him freely into the clear. There's no doubt that that is what he will try to do if indeed he is elected president.
So Attorney General Letitia James, as you saw, just left the courtroom as well. She's supposed to step up to the mics, and we'll take that as soon as it happens. Aaron, keep us honest on that because you're outside the courtroom. Jeff, just to follow up on what Terry asked, if he becomes president, would he have the ability to drop these charges? But what about this case? Let's say he has to pay the $250 million in fines. He can't practice real estate in New York anymore. Do you ever see Donald Trump going broke?
It's hard to see him going broke. I think actually that although it's fair to say that trying to block the state criminal charges against him because he's the president is a weak legal argument. I think that an attempt to try to undo any civil liability would be even weaker. So I don't see any argument, even a creative one invented by people who've gotten very good at inventing creative arguments. I don't see that argument succeeding. And in terms of going broke, my gosh, if he's elected president, he's going to be able to find the kinds of ways that he found while he was president to make money. So I don't think that anybody needs to feel too sorry for him in advance.
And he certainly is. John Santucci, one of the ways that he's made money for his campaigns, he is a small donor dominant figure on the American political scene. Most of his money, and it's considerable to run for president on, comes from people, tens of millions of them, giving him $5, $10, $20.
Yeah.
What do you make of that?
Well, the big donors, Terry, have very publicly said, we're not backing Donald Trump. And Donald Trump, because he has this army behind him, if you will, has said, okay, that's fine. I mean, look at the money. The money is remarkable that they've been pulling in. And as you know, Kira mentioned it earlier, every time that there was an indictment this summer, they came out and said, we raised X millions of dollars after indictment 1, 2, or 4. I mean, we had that many, as we know. So there's enough infrastructure at the moment to support Trump. I mean, look, Donald Trump said famously, I was in the room when he said it, in 2015 in Pella, Iowa, he said, I could walk out onto Fifth Avenue and shoot someone and not lose one of my supporters. Those are the people you're talking about there, Terry. These are the people around the country that really believe everything Donald Trump says and does. And the question is, what would ever be too much for them? We saw January 6th, they're still with him. We've now seen 4 indictments, they're still with him. Obviously, if he is found guilty of fraud here in New York, does that do anything? So far, the system would say, nah, I don't think anything changes. And I think those supporters still stick by him and ride it out well into the next round of trials next year.
Looking at Letitia James coming down the steps there, the Attorney General that brought this case forward. Looks like she's headed to the mic, so let's go ahead and listen
Donald Trump in our case against him, other defendants, and the Trump organization. He rambled, he hurled insults, but we expected that. At the end of the day, the documentary evidence demonstrated that, in fact, he falsely inflated his assets to basically enrich himself and his family. He continued to persistently engage in fraud. The numbers don't lie. And Mr. Trump obviously can engage in all of these distractions, and that exactly what he did, what he committed on the stand today, engaging in distractions and engaging in name-calling. But I will not be bullied. I will not be harassed. This case will go on. We look forward to hearing the testimony of Ivanka Trump on Wednesday, and then we plan on closing our case. And then there'll be some motions on Thursday. And then the defense will present their case in chief. Justice will prevail. And it's important that all of you understand that we have already been victorious in our motion for summary judgment. And now we look forward to disgorgement and to the remaining counts in our action against Donald Trump and his repeated and consistent fraud against the citizens of the great state of New York.
Do you think his answers helped make your case today? Attorney General, did his answers help make your case today?
All right, you heard Letitia James there talking about the former president, saying that he rambled, he hurled insults. She said, but at the end of the day, the documentary evidence was there, proving that he and his family indeed inflated assets to make the family more rich, that all she witnessed today was just distraction. She says she will not be bullied, she will not be harassed. She looks forward to hearing Ivanka Trump testify on Wednesday. Then they will close the case, and the defense will present its case.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.